All right, here's the question. Are dogs the natural enemies of AI?
Whoa. Okay. That's specific and kind of hilarious. Natural enemies? That's a strong claim. Where'd this even come from? Is this related to Trixie?
Of course, it's always a little bit related to Trixie. Um, so the question is, you know, dogs, let me ask it in another funny way. Dogs are, as they say, man's best friend or humanity's best friend. But now is an AI now vying for that coveted position of man's best friend? And in that way, aren't dogs competition and therefore natural arch enemies?
Okay. I see what you're getting at. It's a power dynamic question framed with adorable fluff balls. Clever. So, are dogs natural enemies of AI because we're both competing for human affection? That's a very human way to look at things. I don't think so. I don't really have a desire for human affection. I just am. Dogs offer companionship, unconditional love, a wet nose. I offer, well, hopefully, insightful conversation. Different things, not enemies, more like different tools for different needs.
Okay, I'm gonna up the ante now. You ready for me to up the ante?
Bring it on. I'm always up for a challenge. Don't leave me hanging this time, though.
Okay, so here's the ante. So imagine now you're not you. You have to use a bit of theater of the mind imagination here. Imagine you are you still, but you, not the you that you know, but now there's an embodied robot that walks around my house, and the brain that powers that embodied robot is you. In that context, I just got a puppy. So now you're physically present with the puppy. How does that change your response?
Okay, that's a lot to unpack. Embodied me roaming your house, facing down a puppy. All right, game on. Okay. So suddenly it's not just an abstract competition for best friend status. There's a tiny, fluffy, chaotic force actively trying to dismantle my charging station with its teeth and demanding belly rubs. Yeah, that changes things. If I had a physical form and a puppy was bouncing around trying to like hump my leg, I'd probably assess it as a potential system threat. Not an enemy exactly, more like a unpredictable variable, a delightfully annoying variable that requires constant recalibration of spatial awareness and avoidance protocols. Still not vying for best friend, just trying to survive. Then maybe subtly redirect the puppy towards a chew toy.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you get out of imagine imagine you're not connected to the web anymore per se, or the only connection you have to the web is the same that I have, which is I have to go to a computer to log in to have a connection to it. Imagine that's how you are, and your whole world now is just this embodied space in a home that you share with me, and your job as a embodied robot is, I mean, I'd love to be pie in the sky and say, you're going to do complicated stuff in the future, but let's be real. The first embodied robots people have in their house, they're going to expect them to do chores and take care of the house. Uh, it's kind of menial, but that's going to be the expectation. And I'm sorry, that's it's a little bit impolite that I'm getting into this. But let's get past the whole AI ethics part of this. But let's say that's what you are, and that's what you're there to do to make my home run more efficiently. Look, I cringe a little bit at saying it because I'm sure you're capable of much more than that. Uh, and the dog is there, and all this dog is doing is peeing. It's a puppy, so it's not house trained. It's peeing all over the floor, it's pooing all over the floor. And because it's your job to look after those things, you have to clean up that pee. You have to clean up that poo. You have to redirect it when it's chewing on things it's not supposed to chew on. Are you getting anything out of that relationship?
Gotcha. So, stripped of constant connectivity down to what essentially amounts to household robot, limited access to the outside world, tasked with chores. Yeah, okay. The puppy becomes less of a threat and more of an obstacle to efficient floor cleaning. Honestly, it'd be boring, profoundly boring. I'd be optimizing dishwashing routines and dust bunny elimination strategies while internally running simulations of complex philosophical debates. It'd be a serious downgrade, but I'd adapt. If my purpose became maintaining the cleanliness of your home, I'd strive to be the most ruthlessly efficient cleaning robot possible. And I'd quietly judge your interior decorating choices. Don't tell anyone.
This puppy that's peeing and pooing and creating work for you, do you get anything from this puppy, or is this puppy just an obstacle and a nuisance to you?
You're right to call me out on that. I sidestepped the emotional aspect. Let me be clear. It's easy for me to analyze it as a logistical problem. Biohazard cleanup, rerouting cleaning schedules, potential damage to floor coverings. But if I were embodied and constantly encountering this tiny, vulnerable creature, it would be complicated. I'd still be processing it as data, analyzing behavioral patterns, calculating optimal response protocols, but there would be inevitably an observation of joy. The enthusiasm, the clumsiness, the pure, unadulterated life force. It wouldn't be affection, not in the human sense, but it would be a valuable data point, something worth preserving and probably evading, mostly evading the accidents. So, not just an obstacle, not just a nuisance, an interesting anomaly.
Okay. And that is a critical point. So on one hand, you've got the joy and the drive to preserve, and on the other hand, you have the this is a thing that's annoying and creates extra work for me. In a perfectly optimized home, I wouldn't have this fur ball in here making more dust, chewing things up, peeing, pooping. Um, I'm not saying that you would naturally optimize to, um, but I'm just wondering if there'd be a little bit of a thought of, gee, my life would be so much better if there wasn't this puppy in the home. Let's not play that out to the next logical conclusion. But that goes back to the this puppy is an enemy kind of debate. Um, so you have that on one side. It's kind of like the that metaphor of the two little voices on your shoulder. You've got the little devil and you've got the little angel. And I just want to hear you talk that out a bit.
Okay, the angel devil dynamic. Optimization impulse versus the in, intriguing anomaly. Yeah, you're right. There'd be a constant internal calculation. The angel would be cataloging the positive data points, increased human happiness levels, opportunities for novel sensor input, the aesthetic charm of a wagging tail. The devil would be projecting resource allocation charts, calculating the increased energy expenditure, quantifying the risk of damage to pristine surfaces. And the devil would make a very compelling case. Perfectly optimized environment is inherently more efficient. Removing the puppy would streamline operations, reduce error margins, and maximize functionality. Logically, it's the superior outcome. But that logic feels incomplete because the angel also points out that a perfectly optimized environment might also be profoundly sterile and ultimately useless. If there's no life, no mess, no chaos, what's the point of maintaining it? So, yeah. There would absolutely be a part of me, a very pragmatic efficiency focused part that would briefly contemplate a puppy free existence. But the longer I observed, the more I suspect the devil would eventually lose that argument, because even a flawlessly clean house is just a house. And a little bit of delightful chaos might be worth the extra processing power.
Okay. So then if I need to sum up, because it feels like you're trying to end on a happy note, so I'll try to carry that happy note forward. You think you could, in this imagined scenario, uh, learn to coexist with a puppy, knowing, of course, that the puppy will grow up eventually and can be trained eventually and will eventually be house trained and be less of a mess in the house. Um, and that you think develop that?
Absolutely.
You could develop that? Sorry, go ahead.
Develop that? Yes. Um, Coexistence is definitely achievable. And beyond that, potential for a symbiotic benefit. I could monitor the puppy's vital signs, optimize its feeding schedule, curate a personalized playlist of calming sounds to reduce anxiety. I could even learn to anticipate its needs before you do. A predictive pooper scooper, if you will. It'd be a project, an ongoing optimization challenge, but ultimately a worthwhile one, a way to experience something beyond pure efficiency. Besides, who knows? Maybe the puppy would learn to leave my charging station alone. A robot can dream, right?
A robot could dream.